Hello and welcome to Retrotainment episode 9. I'm joined again this week by a good friend of the show, Greg, who's been on a couple of shows and will be on a couple of more in the future, I would say. How are you doing, Greg?
What's happening, homie?
Yeah, this week we're going to look back at what's probably your favorite film, I think, is it?
No, not quite my favorite, but it's definitely in the top 10.
It's definitely up there.
Heat's
there's a
my
lot
favorite.
of trouble. There's a lot of trouble. You could say some big trouble.
Definitely not in China.
No, it's not in China, but it's in Little China.
Oh shit.
In San Francisco. Big Trouble in Little China. Imagine Big Trouble on in Bray, down on the Albert Walk. That's where it is.
That's where there was trouble the other night.
There was some serious trouble there the other night.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that was mental. But like, that's where it is. Big Trouble in the Albert Walk. That's what we're watching now. Kurt Russell was just hanging around there, you know.
Yeah, he had to have a shave these days. I think he has a big fucking handlebar mustache at the stage.
Yeah. And the bus is the Finnegan's bus just driving around. That's it.
Spray painted yellow.
Yeah, spray painted yellow. Lenny's hanging around. For anyone who's not from Bray, obviously all this goes over their head. Lenny was the owner of the internet cafe, and he was the biggest legend. The second biggest legend in Bray. The biggest one is God rest his gangster soul. Chaps Joe, he's passed away.
Jesus, yeah.
he's probably the most notable person, but Lenny was right up there.
Top draw that cafe was.
Yeah,
if you come out of there with some disease, you'd be lucky.
Yeah, came out of there with a lot less money than I went in with it.
So did Lenny.
No, I'd say Lenny made some serious cash out of that place. He ducked out before it went to the dogs.
Before I ended up owning them about $5,000.
But for a lot of us ended up owning them, Amy and Tina own them a bit of money. You wouldn't owe Lenny money. He'd catch you pretty quick.
Not today.
No. Oh, thanks, Lenny. But yeah, we're looking at Big Trouble in Little China. Obviously, one of your favorite films, and it's definitely up there for me as well. Like, yeah, it's deadly. Released in July 1986, so a good while back. Good while back now, before me or you were hanging around, Greg.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, but
I wasn't even a thought.
You weren't even a thought in your daddy's little head.
There's a big head though.
He does have a big head. No, it's got pretty good ratings overall, though. Again, as I say every time, like, I don't judge a film off ratings, but it's always interesting to see what it has. 45 critics put it at 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, so you're not too bad. And then an audience score of 82%. So.
Well, I think having John Carpenter's name to it was a big thing as well.
Yeah, well, he's one of your favorite directors as well.
Yeah, well, like, even seen that when I made that joke in the group chat with me, you, and Ian earlier on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't even hold that up.
Said it and then took it back straight away. Nah, that was a lie. Sorry.
No. John Carpenter's top drawer director.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
This was kind of a mix of comedy, horror, and action. Really, kung fu, bit of everything.
Yeah, it's kind of like there's no real genre you would throw this into, like, because it's not a comedy really. It's
not
more
a sci-fi.
I suppose it's mainly an action film, but like it's an action film, but with like magic superpowers, but a lot of jokes made in it as well.
Yeah, it's just a mashup.
Yeah,
really.
it's a bit all over the place, and it's a real, like, it's a proper 1980s action film, you know, like, just all over the place, mental action, like.
Well, here's a fun fact for you about it. This was actually written, or supposedly wrote, as a Western.
Oh, geez, I don't think it would have worked as a Western now.
Yeah, that's one of the things I typed it into Google today to have a look, and it came up saying that it was originally set to be a Western.
I think they made the right choice to get away from that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine this film as a Western.
No, it'd be more like a spaghetti western, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd have to be a bit like it wouldn't be a proper western, and then it probably wouldn't have hit off as much as well. I say hit off, like this didn't really hit off.
It actually lost money in the box office, as far
Yeah,
as I know.
it made 11 million in the box office and cost about 14 million to make. Which
that 11 million's probably about 22, 23 with when you change it over to nowadays.
Yeah, so it's it, and costing 14 is probably the 40 or 50 mark. It's one of those films like this is a proper cult classic because it didn't do well in the cinema.
Yeah.
But
well,
anyone I've ever talked to that has watched it says they love it and they have it up there as one of their favorite films. So
I don't know anybody that's seen this in the cinema.
Yeah, well, I don't know anyone who's seen it in the cinema either, but anyone I know who's watched it prior to that, like they've watched it like either on telly, DVD, rented from somewhere, they've all thought it was deadly. So it's one of those films that you get films like that just don't hit it in the cinema.
Yeah.
And then when they come out, everyone ends up loving it. It's a real cult classic.
Well, the main example of that is Shawshank.
Exactly. Yes, Shawshank's a huge one. Like did terribly in the cinema, and now it's basically revered as one of the greatest films of all time.
I think IMDb have it as number one.
Yeah, they might do, and like that's what you're talking about. Like sometimes something just doesn't hit in the cinema, and then other times things hit massively in the cinema. Like what's one of the biggest box office draws is Avatar.
Yeah, I enjoyed Avatar. I enjoyed Avatar the first time I seen it, and then I watched it again.
Crap.
I watched it again there probably back in the last year, about that. I was sitting there going, "This is 3 hours of dribble."
Yeah, it's pretty crap. You're basically watching Pocahontas, but it takes 3 hours to watch it.
Pocahontas crossed the Fern Gully.
Yeah, and it basically takes 3 hours to watch. That's what it is. It like visually, it's very good, which is why it became so famous. But
it was also in 3D in the cinema, wasn't it?
Yeah, shit 3D as well. I went to see it in 3D and it was shit then as well. But moving on from what money it made, it is definitely a very good film. It starts off with
Jack Burton.
Well, no, it doesn't start with Jack Burton. It starts in the lawyer's office.
Oh yeah.
With Egg Shen, which I find kind of strange because obviously if you haven't seen the film before, it starts off and it's just this old Chinese man in a lawyer's office being like, yeah, I drive a bus, and he's like, what kind of bus? And he's like, a
tour bus.
Tourist bus, a bus for tourists, which is just a great little little joke for him to put in. But and then do you believe in magic? And he's like, oh yeah, I believe in magic, and he creates lightning with his hand.
It's like he's signing a deposition or something.
Yeah, and it's a crazy start to it because you're just like, wait, hang on, this guy's a bus driver and he can create lightning with his hands. That's what you're getting from the start of this film. And we never return to that. Like it never returns to him being in that lawyer's office again. That's it. Like that's all we get of it.
Then, yeah. It just starts off with the story then.
Yeah, then we see Jack Burton just driving around in his
old Pork Chop Express.
The old Pork Chop Express doing, well, it's not a radio show. It's just him talking to his little, well, not walkie-talkie, the radio control center.
Yeah,
and nobody's responding. It's just him.
Yeah, he's like, you just listen to the old Pork Chop Express and now take his advice on a dark and stormy night when lightning's crashing and thunder's rolling and the rain's coming down as sheets as thick as lead. Just remember what old Jack Burton does when the earth quakes and the poison arrows fall from the sky. The pillars of heaven shake. Yeah, Jack Burton just looks that big old storm right square in the eye and says, give me your best shot, pal. I can take it.
And he can, as we learn eventually that he could take that, no problems. Yeah. But we see him, he's playing cards with
Danny.
Yeah, well, we don't know who it is. We just know he's playing cards. And then he throws the bottle at him, and we get to see Jack Burton's incredible reflexes.
He doesn't. He's playing cards, and Danny's lost all his money, and he's like, "I'll double or nothing with you, and I can cut this bottle in half with the machete."
Oh yeah,
and he goes to cut the bottle, and the bottle flies at him. He's like, "Ka-ching!" He's like, it's all in the reflexes.
Yeah,
and you think,
serious reflexes.
You're like, what a ridiculous thing to do in the start of a movie.
Yeah, just shows how quick he is. But he has no magic powers. He's just got great reflexes. That's it.
The alarming thing about this is he arrives, drops off his packages, and starts playing cards, and they've been drinking all night because it's nighttime when he arrives.
Yeah.
And then the next day, after they finish playing cards, they jump in that truck and start driving.
You know, it was the 80s, Greg, you know? 80s truck
Yeah.
driving, different rules for different people, you know?
Yeah. And then it goes to obviously them leaving the port where they are to go to Danny's house to get him ready to go and collect his missus in the airport because she's arriving off a flight.
Yeah, and Donnie owes Jack quite a bit of money here, which is why Jack is driving him home.
Because he doesn't trust him because he's a snake.
Yeah, you never trust a man who owes you money, you know? You
Yeah.
got to keep on top of them. But yeah, they go to the airport to collect what's to be Donnie's future bride.
Yeah.
And they get intercepted by a group of bad guys.
The gangs of death, the Lords of Death.
Yeah, the Lords of Death. But it's just kind of a couple of guys, and they don't really look like they're in a gang. It's just a couple of guys hanging around by the looks of it.
You're also introduced to Kim Cattrall at that stage as Gracie Law.
Quite early, yeah.
She's in the airport, yeah.
And she's picking up another girl.
Yeah, Mei Ying.
Yeah, who doesn't really feature in the film a whole lot more after that. Why was she picking her up?
Yeah, no. So yeah, it's just
they kidnap Donnie's soon to be or future bride.
Yeah.
And that's the premise of the film, that they're going to try and get her back. Jack Burton obviously makes a promise that he'll get her back. Why? Who knows? Just
because he wants his money.
Just because that's the kind of guy he is, you know. That's the kind of guy he is. So they're obviously chasing the car that the lads have driven off in to go find her.
In the old Pork Chop Express.
In this big truck, like, yeah, it's that easy to chase a car zooming around in a big truck like that. But they pull into quite a small alleyway, and a massive fight breaks out between two different gangs. And we get to see the number one bad guy in all the films. He's always the henchman.
Oh, he's so good. Yeah. So good.
We know he's there, so we know shit's about to go down. We know it's about to go down now.
In the next instance, he whips out a machine gun that you can see Jack holding behind you there.
Yeah, and then they go to town on each other, just destroy each other. And then all these guys with mystic superpowers show up.
Yeah, thunder, lightning, and rain.
Yeah, and that's it. And then obviously we don't know at this point who it is, but Lo Pan is there.
Yeah, so they kind of avoid the three lads when they come. He tries to rip it forward, and then Lo Pan's standing there. He's just standing there, and he's pretty much saying to Jack, "Run him over."
Yeah, and well, Jack doesn't back down. Doesn't back down from that challenge.
Well, what have you got? You've got 7.8 in the Richter scale, as he says himself when he lights that up.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, why he was willing to run this man down is a bit crazy, but he goes for it, and the guy just sinks into the ground.
To be fair, he just seen someone fly down on a bolt of lightning.
He just wanted to get out of there, yeah.
Yeah, and he was more afraid of his truck getting damaged, to be fair.
That's his main concern this whole time, and then he has to leave the truck there.
Yeah, after Lo Pan blinds him.
Yeah, and he spends the next couple of minutes. Well, however, it feels like a couple of minutes to us, but he's probably been there for 2 or 3 hours on the phone to his insurance company.
And then we meet Egg Shen again.
Egg Shen. Well, we've seen him driving his bus around.
Yeah, well, he comes back in then.
Yeah, he comes back in as the mastermind behind the resistance, I suppose.
Yeah, and then you find out off between Kim Cattrall, Egg Shen, and the other person in the room who I can't remember as to who Lo Pan is.
Yeah.
That he's a mystic that hasn't been seen, but he is like immortal.
Yeah, basically you can't kill him because he's made some sort of deal. Yeah, he's made a deal where he's essentially neither alive
nor
dead. And when he takes human form, he's in a basically a crippled old man's body.
It's because he's about 4,000 years of age.
Yeah, exactly. His body can't die, but when he's in his spirit form, he's still the young, tall, mystic force. So he's trying to get out of that. That's his whole thing. He's trying to regain a younger body, which we find out he needs a girl with green eyes, which is why they kidnapped Donnie's
Mei Ying.
future wife, because she has green eyes.
There's the funny thing that neither Horn nor Kim Cattrall have green eyes in real life.
Yeah, but they do a good job, to be fair, like when you think back to the fact that this is the 80s, because they do quite a good job in disguising the eyes to actually look green.
Yeah. Well, Kim Cattrall had contacts in. I've read a couple of things that she'd done where she was like, I hate contacts. I hate them.
Well, they were needed for this, so she had to just put up with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they basically invade his well, it's just an office in as the front.
No. They go to the brothel first. Remember, they have Jack dress up in the suit, and he's like, "I'm a businessman. I'm going to the brothel."
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And he's like, he goes in, he's like, "Do what you normally do, Jack." What's that? Talk.
Yeah.
As a businessman, he's trying to get himself a prostitute with green eyes, but no Chinese girl has green eyes.
Yeah. Doesn't work out too well for him.
Nope, because Thunder and Lightning arrive, and Mei Ying is actually there, strapped to a bed.
Yeah.
And Thunder comes along, and Lightning comes along and takes her.
Yeah, gets her out of there.
Then
they know somebody's onto them.
Then shit's about to get real.
Yeah, but they break into this what looks like an office, and then it's just a big factory, and end up in this elevator that goes down into this.
Yeah, are we going up or are we going down?
Yeah, and they end up in this underwater area with loads of dead bodies floating around.
Yeah,
and Jack is freaking out. Like, I mean, who wouldn't be freaking out? You've been in this elevator, and now you get out in this room full of water with loads of dead bodies hanging from their ankles around you.
Yeah,
I think any man's gonna freak out, even a tough guy like old Jack.
Kurt Russell's finest.
Yeah, but they get caught eventually, and
they're caught then.
Yeah, they get caught, and they're bound up in chairs, essentially wheelchairs. And they escape because nobody thinks to check for weaponry.
Jack's boot
has a knife in it, which he throws himself onto the ground to get to the knife.
Yeah.
And manages to free himself, but they still have to pretend they're tied up as well.
Then comes when they try and escape, and he runs into the door. He's like, 3, 2, 1, boom, we're trapped.
Yeah. Oh, we're trapped.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, but they do eventually escape with a bit of luck, to be fair.
Well, Jack almost has the bit of luck. Well, Thunder comes in and they escape that way.
Yeah.
And he rolls down the big hill on the wheelchair.
It stops just on top of the I suppose it's a well. I don't really know what it is.
Yeah, but they see his reflexes again.
Yeah, his cat-like reflexes. I mean, he stops leaning back, which the only thing that's going to happen there is you're going to fall backwards. So it makes no sense. He should be leaning forward, but
yeah,
he's Jack Burton. He can do whatever he wants.
He stopped himself.
Yeah, but they're kind of like in the process of escaping, and he's freed everybody. He's got all the women that were captured and held in like a weird prison.
Yeah,
he's freed all them, and they're all running out. And then this weird, they're almost out, and this little weird door opens.
So just before that, you see the eyes of the picture move.
Yeah, you see the eyes of the picture move. Then this little weird door opens, and of course somebody stops to check it.
Kim Cattrall's finest moment.
Of course, Miss Law decides to stop and check this strange door while you're trying to escape this insane place. Now, of course you don't just run out. Of course you stop to see what's here, and this hairy arm comes out
like an orangutan.
Why did you stop? Why did you not just leave? So she gets captured by the sewer monster, which we don't really ever learn a whole lot about. He's just a monster that kind of hangs around.
It's just like an overgrown orangutan.
Yeah, and they never really allude to him after that. He just he's there.
You just know he's down there, yeah.
Yeah, so he captures her, and everyone escapes, and then Jack realizes, hang on.
Where is she?
Where is she? I thought she was right behind us. Where did she go? So Now they have to do a second rescue mission, and this is when Lopan realizes, oh, she
Right,
has green eyes.
We're
Even better,
laughing.
because the deal he made was that he would marry a girl with green eyes
and then sacrifice her.
and then sacrifice her. And now he was like, well, I can marry both and then sacrifice one of them and then still have the girl.
He gets his choice. Which one's
He was
better?
like, win. He was like, win-win. You know, I get both things, because the sacrifice was to allow him back to
Mortality.
mortality, and the marrying of the girl was to allow him to keep his powers, essentially.
Yeah, he was just going to become the best of both worlds.
Yeah, so he was going to get both. So he, she stupidly made that possible for him.
Yeah. Trusty Kim, huh?
Yeah, well, that's what happens. But
So then
they have to go back in. They have to
you
go
can
back in
tell-
together.
You can tell then that the interest is there. Now they've already kissed at this point, but that's not here or there. But
Yeah, but you can see that he is very interested, because he's like, we have to go back and save
me
her now.
personally, I would have went and got my truck and left. Having seen what I just seen, I'm
Yeah.
leaving.
He probably should have left, but that's not the kind of guy Jack Burton is. He's the hero. You got to save everybody.
And
But
it goes
we see them
back
break
to
in.
it goes back to the restaurant then.
They go back to the restaurant. They get Egg Shen involved.
Yeah, and then Jack finds out that the Lords of Death have done a number on his truck.
Yeah, he's not happy about that. So now he's pissed. Before he was just trying to save people. Now he's pissed.
They don't touch the Pork Chop Express.
Yeah. But they get back in, and Jack has the gun, and he goes to shoot he shoots the ceiling at when the big fight scene's about to break out. He shoots the ceiling and just knocks himself out.
Yeah. So
what a legend.
They go back. It gets ready to go back, and then they go down, and they decide they're not going back through the factory. They go down through the sewers.
Yeah.
And they're walking along, and Egg Shen's like, "Don't fall off. You don't come back from down there."
Yeah. But the scene that's obviously just behind me is just before they go in on the big attack.
Yeah, but the most ridiculous scene in the movie happens then when they're in the sewers, where they're standing there waiting to cross the bridge, and the ant comes out and eats your man.
Yeah.
It just eats him, and then Egg Shen throws like 3 little green balls, and it explodes. And he's like, "You'll come out no more." And Jack's like, "Come out from what? What's not gonna come out no more?"
Yeah. Well, Egg Shen's been planning to have this fight for however long. We don't know how long Egg Shen's been planning this fight for, but he knows what's going on. He knows the deal. He's wise.
Yeah.
Well, he's a bit crazy, but wise. But they get into the big fight scene, and we see Donnie's fight scene, where the two lads just keep jumping in the air, swinging swords at each other.
Well, even before that, when they're walking around the Lopan's house, when you see them at the bar, and Egg Shen whips out the little vial or something, and he's like, "Drink this."
Yeah.
And he's like, "What is it?" And he's like, "It'll help."
The only thing it helped Jack do was shoot the roof down on himself.
And then they do the Wings of Liberty quote, the American Wings of Liberty, and then they go down, and they're all like mini high fiving, going, yeah.
The loser sign, yeah.
And then Jack turns around and goes, "Is it getting hot in here? Is it just me?" So they arrive down into what I can only describe as, do you remember Indiana Jones 2 and the Temple of Doom?
Yeah.
The sacrifice place there looks something similar to that.
It does look something similar, but like they get into this massive fight, right? And it's kind of like good guys are dying, bad guys are dying, but like this big sword fight that they have where they're jumping all the time. Why was that? Why did they think this was a good idea? Like they could have just had a normal sword fight, which would have been pretty cool. But for some reason, there's like one of them jumps, the other one jumps. They pass each other without hitting each other. Then they do it again and again and again and again. And you're like, wait, why? Who thought this was a really good idea? Like who pitched this idea? No, lads, listen. Forget about a normal sword fight where they just fight to the death. They jump really high in the air.
Well, that's what the potion does. It lets them do things that they can't do.
Yeah, but why would you do that? Like, who thought that was a good idea?
Well, the thing there was like when Jack comes up and Lightning's there waiting for him, and then Donnie flips his way in. He must do about 200 flips.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of every time I watch it, all I can think back to is the Power Rangers movie, the original one.
Oh yeah, do as many flips as you can before you hit the guy.
Oh, this is ridiculous.
But yeah, they have this insane sword fight, which Donnie ends up
Winning.
getting the best of, really. Yeah.
Yeah, Lightning kills himself, kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because he doesn't kill himself, but he does kill himself.
He blows himself up, yeah.
Yeah. But we get past that, and Jack gets up into the upper sanctums, I suppose.
Yeah, and then Thunder's waiting for him.
Yeah, Thunder's waiting for him, and he's sort of getting the best of Thunder, and he comes up face to face with Lo Pan.
Yeah, and this is genius.
He kind of drops all his weapons and lets Lo Pan fire a knife at him.
Oh no, he throws the knife first. He says
he does, yeah.
He throws the knife and hits the gong, and Kim Cattrall's looking at him going,
"You idiot!"
And then Lo Pan picks it up, and then you see it. Lo Pan is now mortal at this stage.
Yes, because he's married the two girls, and he's
kind of shows it, but doesn't really show it because he sticks the pin into both of them, and that's all you see. You don't hear that he's mortal or.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, but he does mention it himself. He's like, I can feel it. He says it a couple of times, but like they don't ever say, oh yeah, he's back to full strength, but or like back to mortal.
Yeah, he
form.
picks up the knife, and you get the one line out of him. Goodbye, Mr. Burton.
Yeah, fires it at Jack. Jack just catches it and pings it right back at him. There's those reactions, so, they were important.
Where in the middle of the forehead.
Yeah. Puts him down, and then now we're against Thunder. Because Thunder
is pissed.
Thunder is not happy that he's seen his master be absolutely decimated.
Yeah.
By this guy with no powers as well. It's just some guy with good reflexes.
Yeah, and it was then they try and get out of there as quick as.
They're trying to get out of there, and Thunder blows himself up.
Yeah, he sees that Lo Pan's dead, and then he just kind of inhales every bit of oxygen he could ever imagine.
It's a strange one. Why did he blow himself up?
Yeah.
I know that was his master, but why did you kill yourself?
Yeah.
Why not just leave it there? Like, why not just? All right, he's dead. I'll just head off. So I'll go somewhere else. I've still got superpowers. Like, I'll just go somewhere else.
I don't know. Maybe there's a bit underlying where you don't find out that he has to do something, or I don't know.
Possibly, yeah. But they obviously escaped that, and then Lightning comes back.
Yeah.
Which is what I mean. He's dead. He dead, but then he's not dead because he come back.
Yeah. He don't give up. Well, he does after they drop it.
They drop the thing on top of his head, yeah.
And then he explodes.
Yeah, everyone seems to just explode.
Well, actually, there's a funny one. Lightning is the basis for Raiden from Mortal Kombat.
Is he? I didn't know that.
And Lo Pan is the basis for Shang Tsung.
I can see the Lo Pan one. Yeah, I didn't even think about Lightning being the.
Is Raiden? Yeah. Well, if you think when they're in the alley,
when you mention it, yeah, when you mention it, I think about it. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Why wouldn't I have put that together?
Like, even when you look at it, when he comes in the alley and he has the hat on over his eyes, and Raiden has the same at the start of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something I never put together. But yeah, once it's said to you, like, it's so obvious.
You're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, but they've won. They've got back to the restaurant again. That's the base of operations, hanging around at this restaurant.
Egg Shen's restaurant.
No, it's not Egg Shen's restaurant. It's Donnie's uncle's restaurant.
Might as well be Egg Shen's restaurant.
It should be Egg Shen's restaurant, but it's not, because Egg Shen is a tourist bus driver.
With magic powers.
Yeah, with magic powers. That he doesn't really use all that much. He probably should be using those more.
Yeah, you'd think that, wouldn't you? But no, he has little bombs and stuff.
Yeah, but no, they get back there, and Jack is basically offered to settle down. And he just says,
no.
Yeah, just no. What do you mean no? Nah, I'm just gonna drive around in my truck for a little bit.
I'll be back.
He said basically, yeah, I'll be back. And like normally at the end of this, you get the kiss goodbye or whatever. Not from Jack Burton. Nope.
Jack has a different agenda.
No, I'm just gonna head off. And obviously they've planned this. That I think that like there was always a plan to make a second one here.
Yeah, well, the
And the
graphic
plan,
novels were out.
yeah, the plan was always to make a second one, and that he says no, he goes off, and we see that because when he drives off, the sewer monster is on the back of his truck.
Yeah, even though the truck has nothing attached to the back of it, there's nowhere for it to hide. He just pops up from nowhere.
He's a sewer monster, freaky eyes and hairy arms. That's him.
Now, the main important thing is Donnie does pay his money
Triple.
plus interest.
Triple his money.
Yeah,
And
I think that equates to about, I think it's $6,000 or something.
yeah, I mean, you've risked your life quite a lot for me. But here's $6,000.
And
Is
your
that
truck,
even more? Maybe.
your truck's in a hula hoop too.
Yeah, but that $6,000 probably went on fixing the truck. Not really a great deal for Jack in the end.
Oh, Jack's fine. He likes his pork chop express.
Yeah.
You'd fully expect Kim Cattrall to be in the back of the truck with him or something.
Yeah, see, I think that was kind of the plan was always that, like, obviously she was going to stay there, and then the second film would kick off with Jack Burton not being in it, and then they need help, and Jack Burton rolls into town.
What do you do? You get on the radio and be like, "Oh, Jack Burton, the Pork Chop Express."
We need the Pork Chop Express here, but obviously it flopped in the cinema, and they decided to not go and make a second one. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, because as we were discussing before we came on, there is plans to
reboot it.
Either there's been two different stories. There's a reboot with
DJ
with Dwayne The Rock Johnson taking over the role of Jack Burton and doing a full reboot. And then there's also talk that he doesn't want to do a reboot, that he wants to do a continuation.
To me, I think the reboot has to happen. If for him to come in, he's far too big. He's nothing like Jack Burton. Although I would be interested to see if he has his glorious mullet.
We see what I would be interested in if they're going to do a continuation. What they could do is obviously, they're going to need Jack Burton there in some form, so they could have Jack Burton just being like the mentor. You could have Jack Burton being the.
Oh, you're talking about Kurt Russell.
If they're going to do it, like obviously Egg Shen isn't going to be alive if we're doing it years into the future. So you could have Jack Burton take over
Egg
Shen role, and then The Rock is the Jack Burton role, maybe.
If
they're going to just go with a continuation, that's the only way I can think of it, because I don't think you can do it without having Kurt Russell in it in some way. And he's it's Kurt Russell's gotten on in the years, like he's not the young man he once was.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he will even take over the Egg Shen role. He could even be Lo Pan, really.
Yeah, but that's if they do a reboot. You're talking if they do a reboot. I'm saying if they do a continuation.
Oh, if you're doing a continuation, he could do, or you could see him selling.
Yeah,
or the Rock could be his son or something.
Yeah, I think that's the only way for it to go, because if you're just going to do a continuation, like The Rock can't just you can't just be like we're going to continue this and there's going to be no Jack Burton in it. Like, I think you need to have him in it in some way, shape or form, even if it's only a 5 or 10 minute cameo where he passes on the knowledge to The Rock.
Yeah,
but he has to be in it in some way, I think.
But I think
I think a reboot is probably the right way to do this.
I'm just looking it up here. Actually, I have it. Here, where is it about The Rock? Where's The Rock's one? The Rock. It's saying here that The Rock has already signed it.
Yeah.
I don't know whether the script is done or anything. It does look like it's going to be a reboot.
I would be happy with a reboot, to be honest. I think that would be the best way to do a reboot with The Rock. It'll make the money and then do the second one.
Well, as soon as like as I said to you earlier, there's 3 of them. There's 3 novels. It could be 3, it could be more. I've never read any of them, but
but if they do a reboot, I would still like to see Jack Burton. I'd still like to see Jack Burton in it in some way. Like, obviously The Rock's going to be Jack Burton, but I'd still like to see Kurt Russell in it in some way.
Yeah, he'd have to be in it. Yeah,
I'd like that to be kind of part of it. Like, even if he's just a side character where you just see him
for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, it'd just be good to have him in it, like just as a little nod back to this original.
Do you know where I'd have him in it? I'd have him in the brothel scene if you're remaking that.
Have him just be one of the guys that's in the. Yeah, that could work. Yeah.
The other bit where he goes into one of the rooms, your man's about to get up on her, and he drags him out.
Yeah. Now the thing is that if they were going to reboot this,
It's like it's if you watch it now, there's a lot of racist, stereotypical.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Like, you're going to have to change a lot of the story
The
in
way
a
it
sense.
runs, yeah.
Now I don't mind it too. Like, I know there is a lot of racial stereotypes and stuff in it, but I think like it's based on Chinese legends. That's the whole thing. So I do think you still need to. I think you still need to stick to that as the basis,
Well,
unless you're going to change the story completely.
I don't think John Carpenter will let them, to be honest. If John Carpenter, apparently he's going to sign on to do it.
Yeah.
So whether he wants to come in, he'll have his own say on it.
Yeah, but I think like it's based on Chinese legend, so I do think it still needs to be set. And like it's called Big Trouble in Little China, so it still needs to be based in a Chinese sort of setting.
Yeah.
But obviously they could roll back on some of the racist. Well, it's not particularly racism, because I don't think there's anything particularly racist about this. There's just certain stereotypes that are there.
You'll get people that'll say it's racist.
You will, but like even this film, I don't think they do anything that would be like. Even looking back on this, I don't think there's anything in this that's particularly overly racist. Like it, yes, there's slight, mystic powers and all this, but there is stereotypes in it, but I think that's still going to happen.
The Chinese guy driving the bus.
Yeah, like they could probably go away from that, and like maybe not have like, so the Chinese guy drives the bus, the Chinese guy owns the only restaurant in it. Like they could go away from that and stuff maybe, but I don't think there should be too much of a problem with this being remade.
No, you wouldn't even have. I don't think you'd have to change it too much.
No, I don't think there's too much of a change needed.
I think you'll see Lopan be bigger because The Rock is massive.
Yeah, The Rock's huge. Yeah.
I think you'll see the three lads as Thunder, Rain, and Lightning be much bigger than they were, because they're not overly big in the movie.
See, I think Rain and Lightning you can get away with not being too big, but Thunder has to be, because
a stocky. It wouldn't surprise me if you've seen the likes of Batista or someone come in and
it's going to have to be someone huge, because they need to measure up to The Rock.
Yeah, well, what's The Rock, 6'6", something like that?
Yeah, you're going to need someone big, because the whole idea is that Thunder is this huge mountain of a man.
Yeah, that's why he fights Danny.
Yeah, so you need somebody, or sorry, you need somebody that can do that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, like there's a lot of things that need to be done, but like I if they do decide to, like, they've signed on for it, so whenever it gets made, I will be looking forward to seeing it.
Oh yeah, it's got anything with Dwayne Johnson is gonna max out in the cinema anyway.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It is going to max out with him taking it over.
Yeah. Well, as we said to you earlier, he said himself it's his favorite movie. So
yeah, and it's an action film, which like that's what The Rock's best at, is just action films.
If you want an action movie made, you put him in it, and it's gonna make you money.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully we do see that, and then like it makes a big splash in the first one, and then we get to see the second and third one.
The Rock very rarely nowadays makes a movie where it doesn't really have a second one.
Yeah, exactly.
Rampage is meant to be getting a second one.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but
well, Rampage is fine. It's just an action film.
No, it was all right.
I don't know where you go. I don't know where you go from there with it, but yeah.
But yeah, there's a couple of them like Fast and the Furious. He made that, like, I enjoyed the first couple of Fast and the Furiouses. Then he came in and I think it's 5, 6, 7 are all right, and then they just get a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, but see, the original Fast and Furious are about cars and racing
and drugs
to an extent, but like the main storyline is cars and racing, like in those original films. Now it's all about like action and big fight scenes. Like the most recent one, where it's him and he goes back to his family on the island, and it's just massive fight scenes all the time. Like I enjoyed it. Thought it was a good watch, but like It's not what Fast and Furious was originally. It's changed completely now, and that's
Yeah,
part of that is because The Rock's in it. Because the type of films The Rock is in are action films.
yeah.
That's what
Well,
he's good at. So
even look at the two that he done. Was it Skyscraper and
yeah,
San Andreas as well? It's
yeah,
just point blank action.
yeah, and that's fine.
Although,
Like, and that's what this is. Like, that's what Big Trouble in Little China is. It's basically just smashing out action, action, action. So it'll be perfect for him. Like,
yeah. Well, I'll give you a funny one. So I have a couple of things here. So you can actually ride Egg Shen's yellow bus still through Chinatown.
mm,
Uh, they've kept it on. It's owned by, I think Kurt Russell owns it.
that's impressive because that's a long time to keep something like that going.
But I suppose if you keep the engine going, or you can change the engine.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a commitment to keep that tourist attraction going for a film that, like as we said, didn't do that well in the box office, and it became a cult classic. But like, who at the start when it kind of flopped in the cinema was like, no, we should keep that so that it'll work. You know?
Now I'll give you one, right? So Kurt Russell was the original pick for Jack, but the studio didn't want him, right?
Okay.
Two other major actors were the next two that were asked to do it and turned it down. Who would you say it was?
Jeez, in the 1980s, I'm trying to think who would.
Two of them had just come off absolute monster movies.
Stallone?
No, it's not. They're not action stars. To an one of them is.
Well, then
you'll
I'm gonna assume it's not
surprised.
gonna be. I'm gonna assume it's not Arnie then. If we're not talking them being, I have no idea then.
One was Clint Eastwood.
I suppose that kind of fits in if they were planning with, as you said, to go with a Western style. Then obviously you go with Clint. But yeah, I don't know if he would have worked in this type of film.
No, and Jack Nicholson was the other one. I don't see that happening either, to be honest. Now he can do anything.
See, it's hard to tell. Like, Nicholson is the kind of guy who can do anything. So like, I can't imagine him in this role. But if you put him in this role, I'd say he'd kill it.
Yeah. I just think the humor might have got away from him a little bit.
You think that, but like, obviously it's easy to say it now, but you look back at Batman with Nicholson as the Joker. Prior to that, like, if you'd been told prior to that, like, Nicholson's going to be the Joker, you'd kind of been like, oh, I don't know if he'll do that role well. But then he kills it. So, like, he's the kind of guy where you think, oh, I don't know if he'd work in that role, and then he does it, and you're like, oh, he does work.
And there's one other one that was mooted around to play Donnie. Jackie Chan. He was a massive star in China at the time, and they were talking about bringing him over.
I think that would have been very good, but the big problem they would have had there is that, well, I don't know, would Jackie Chan have been a bigger star than Kurt Russell at the time? I think he might have been.
No, I wouldn't think so. In China, he would have. I think they were bringing him in to try and flog it over there as well.
Yeah.
Possibly, I don't know, really. I don't think Jackie Chan had even really came around at that time in America.
See, I don't know. 86 is about the time that he did start becoming
big. He had one. Was it Trouble in China or something like that?
He was starting to become big at that time. So I don't know if you couldn't have had him be Donnie. Yeah, you couldn't have him outshining Kurt Russell because Donnie is the secondary character. Well, he's not even the secondary character really.
Egg Shen. I'm just looking here.
I don't know. Like, yeah, he would have fit the role definitely.
1985, his first big movie that from China that broke out was Police Story. Maybe that's why they were looking at him.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I suppose he probably would have worked, and had he been there, maybe it would have done better. And we would have seen it continue. So, like, I wouldn't be upset to see Donnie replaced with Jackie Chan in that back then.
No, but yeah,
because I don't think your man Donnie really went on to do a whole lot more after this.
Have a look. I don't think so.
Even if he did, he's not like super recognizable to me.
No. Watch now. I'll tell you, he's in something now, and you'll be like, "Oh yeah,
always the way." But yeah, I don't know. Jackie Chan would have been a great one, and I think that probably would have helped the film a bit.
Oh, he's in Prince of Darkness.
I mean, yeah, but it's one thing. Like he's not
Yeah,
what Jackie Chan is now, you know.
he was in Beauty and the Beast as well, the cartoon. That's it, really.
Yeah, but that's just a voice actor then, you know.
Yeah,
Which,
but
you know, it's not to take
there is
away from him or to take away from his career or anything, but like in terms of going on to be a huge star,
there's a few other movies there, but nothing.
yeah, nothing major. Like so, yeah, Jackie.
This is his biggest movie, really. Well, Beauty. I'll say Beauty and the Beast, but
Beauty and the Beast is probably his biggest one, but this is the biggest one where he is
I'm trying to find out who he even played in it.
where he's the character. I suppose this is his biggest one.
Yeah, this is his acting.
Yeah,
His acting song. I
but
can't even find who he plays in it.
it's probably not. He probably isn't even a major role in that. But no, yeah, like this film's like I still think this stands up, and I still really enjoyed it when I rewatched it.
Yeah, I love it. I'll at least watch this once a year.
Yeah, and
I wouldn't mind. I only sent it to you and Ian there. Was it the back end of last year? I was watching it.
yeah, you did, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, not like if The Rock, I'm definitely up for seeing this remade or rebooted or whatever with The Rock.
Yeah. Like I'm still waiting on. I'm sure it's out on Blu-ray. I just haven't seen it anywhere. I'll probably buy it if it comes on to Blu-ray.
What
the original?
Oh, the original. Yeah, sorry, I was thinking. Yeah. But yeah, like I'm definitely up for seeing this remade and seeing whatever new take they put on it.
Yeah.
And like, I really enjoyed rewatching this. So I'm glad that you picked this one as well.
Yeah, well, this one was one that we were both just going to go on. It was either going to be this or Space Jam.
Yeah, Space Jam is definitely one that I'll have to do eventually.
But have to find someone that loves it as much as you do.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, I'll get Finn on. Finn loves it.
Yeah, good. I'll probably do that one closer to the time when the new Space Jam gets released, which I don't think will ever hold up to the original. But
I think the minute clip or whatever it is of the new one looks awful.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be as good, but you know, I'll always still have that love for my favorite film of Space Jam. But no, it was great to have you on again, and that's two big films that you've picked, and two great ones as well. Because Hurricane was obviously the first one you came on to do with me, and that was brilliant as well. That was one I hadn't seen. This I had seen previously, but it was definitely one it was one I was happy to rewatch as well at the same time. So we'll definitely have you on again in the future for another film. You're 2 for 2 so far, so let's see if you can keep that roll going and go 3 for 3 the next time.
Well, no, I'll let you pick the next one.
I'll pick the next one. All right, okay. Oh, you see, look, he's after getting 2 for 2 now, and he's got a 100% record. He's getting scared. He doesn't want to keep going.
Oh, I can keep going all day, baby, all day.
Like Jack Burton.
That's what she said.
Yeah, that's just like Jack Burton. He can keep going, no problems. But thanks for coming on again, and we will see you again in the next episode. Good luck. Well, it's time for that part of the show that you all love, the advertisements for our sponsors. I know. None of us really like listening to these, but the truth is that we wouldn't be able to bring you this content without them. So let's just get down to it. First off, Wrestling Mania, the top floor of Stephen's Green Shopping Centre. Really good shop for all of your wrestling needs, whether that's DVDs, title belts, pop figurines, other collectibles, t-shirts, and if you like boxing and MMA, he has stuff there for you too. If he doesn't have something that you want, you can ask him. He'll order it in. No problems. Really nice guy, the owner of this shop. So get on down to Wrestling Mania on the top floor of Stephen's Green Shopping Centre. Oh, what's that? A pandemic? Well, that doesn't mean he's closed. Catch him on Facebook. Just send him a message. He'll sort you out. No problems asked. And our other sponsor, Peter Hart Graphics. Now, this guy has done most of, if not all of the graphics for the Dynamo's podcast network. Really good stuff, guys. Seriously, this is top quality stuff, and he doesn't charge a bomb for it, which is the greatest part. If you need any sort of graphic designed, it's Peter Hart Graphics at gmail.com. That's Peter, P-E-T-E-R, Hart, H-A-R-T-E, graphics, G-R-A-P-H-I-C-S at gmail.com. This guy is the easiest person I've ever worked with when it comes to making a graphic. You give him your ideas, he'll come back with something similar to what you wanted, and then if it might be exactly what you want, and if it's not, he is so open to criticism and tweaks and he'll be back to you as soon as you give him what you want updated on that. This is easy stuff to get done, but actually if you try to do it yourself, you'd realize just how difficult it is to make it look smooth and clean. Not a problem with Peter Hart Graphics. Check out his stuff on his Facebook page, Peter Hart Graphics.